I just saw a baby put into the mud like way too many times that I'm comfortable with. Chanak is directed by Peke Galiaga and Lore Reyes. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Written by Wango Galiaga and stars Solen Husaf, Judian Santos, Tom Rodriguez, and Sid Lucero. In Chanak, Maddie, played by Solen Husaf, finds a baby in a cave while she's jogging in the countryside and brings this baby back to her fiance's family's house where she's staying. And immediately, her soon-to-be sister-in-law Julie, played by Judian Santos, takes a liking to this baby because all she's wanted in her life is to have kids of her own. And so she protects this baby with her whole entire life and her whole being, even if this baby begins to cause some problems around the town. Now, fun fact, Chanak is actually a remake of the 1988 film Tiyanak without the apostrophe, also directed by Peke Galiaga and Lore Reyes. And for those who don't know, a Chanak is a creature from Philippine folklore that disguises itself as a baby, and it lures people to it as it cries, and then when people pick it up, it turns into its monster form and eats them or something. It looks like, you know, that the baby thing from Dead Space 1 with the tentacle things, but without the tentacles. And I don't really know what to think about Chanak because on one hand, it is very visually impressive, and there's lots of good acting in it, but I really just don't think it's well edited or well written at all. First of all, I want to bring up the actual Chanak monster thing. I'm so happy that they decided to make it practical. It's, you know, it's all practical props and animatronics and stuff. They don't really use CGI. Maybe there's like a couple of shots where it's CGI. But I love the fact that they really dedicated themselves to making it a practical effect. Because when you have a practical effect there, it's always going to be better than CGI in my opinion because it has actual weight. It really interacts with the environment, even just the way it, you know, it shadows the things it steps on. Also, let's not forget that CGI is kind of harder. It's harder for actors to act in front of CGI because they can't really see the thing. And in terms of production design, the mansion that most of this movie takes place in really adds this gothic kind of old school vibe to the movie. And the cave where Maddie finds the Chanak is so nice. Like, I don't know where they found this cave, but it really helps sell that supernatural element to the story. You know, if the actual Chanak prop doesn't really convince you, like, just the cave is just gonna really give you that vibe. Most of this movie really does look great. It really, you know, there's a great use of light and shadow throughout the movie to really build the atmosphere. And there's some moments where they use shaky cam, but it's not bothersome at all. In fact, it does kind of help show like this distorted point of view that some of the characters have, and maybe even the point of view of the Chanak. I also really like how the Chanak sounds because it still kind of sounds like a baby, but mixed with like a lizard kind of thing. And this actually really helps because it makes it harder to kill. You know, it's kind of harder to bring yourself to want to kill the thing because it has this real human element to it, kind of like, you know, zombies. In terms of acting, Solen Husaf is actually surprisingly good in this movie, in my opinion. She really shows her fear like in a really complex way because it's not just fear of a monster; it's fear of, you know, thinking of killing this thing that really resembles a baby. And there's some moments in this movie that I was really impressed by her because there's some moments when she's reprimanded by, you know, these members of her soon-to-be family. And when you're reprimanded by people at a dinner table, you don't really lash out to them. You're just kind of awkward and quiet. And I like how she was awkward and quiet in those moments. The trick with using Solen Husaf in the movies, don't make her speak a lot of Filipino because just it's obviously not like her real first language, I think. But like just don't. Then you've got Tom Rodriguez, who I just realized looks and sounds a lot like Dave Franco. I mean, seriously, look at him. But I thought he was really good also. He made every single conversation feel improvised, at least on his part. Because every single thing he says doesn't sound like he's reading from dialogue. It really, he adds all these little things to how he talks, these little stutters and pauses and stuff, and just feels very authentic. Sid Lucero, objectively speaking, he's not objectively bad. In fact, he is good in this movie. It's just, I feel like he's stuck in Norte mode. You know, he feels like his character from Norte if he ended up in this movie. He's kind of like how Pacino and De Niro, like, you know, how they appear in some good movies, some really good movies, and then they appear in some smaller movies and they just kind of phone it in. It kind of felt like Sid Lucero was phoning it in here. But Julian Santos really is the best part of this movie. She really manages to add this depth to her character to make her feel sympathetic and even tragic when, you know, other actors might make the character seem just kind of insane. Julian Santos really has this authority about her when, you know, she's in a scene. Even if she's not really saying anything, she just has this strength of will about her that really makes her kind of scary also in her own right. Becca Galiaga and Laura Reyes make this story feel much bigger than it is. I think they still are very good directors. Um, because they make this movie not just like a horror movie, a monster movie. It really is also like a family drama. Like a lot of this movie explores the effects of having this monster baby around. I also like how they directed like the Chanak attacks. Like when the Chanak like jumps on someone, they really choose not to focus on the monster itself. They just kind of shake the camera around, and it's all frantic and stuff. And I actually think it works in this part because it really disguises the imperfections of the prop itself, and it makes the attacks seem very panic fueled. You know, there are also certain scenes where it's just completely all one take, where they just kind of move the camera around. Like in one scene in particular, when a certain tragedy happens and the family's just freaking out, like it never cuts. It just really just follows each character as they run around the house, and in the background you see certain characters doing other things. It's really nice to watch. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I really didn't like with this movie. For one, I feel like there's just way too many unnecessary scenes that, you know, just ruin the focus of the movie. Like, there's this one character who is like a shaman or whatever who knows what the Chanak's all about, and she's really just there for exposition. And if you just take out her scenes, I think it'll just be much more streamlined. Again, there's a lack of focus in the things that happen. Like, it doesn't. This movie really does not want to just focus on one central theme. It just kind of goes all over the place to all these different characters who not all of them really matter. And because of this, like, there's no real sense of building tension. A lot of the parts of this movie actually do feel kind of slow because you don't really know where it's going in a bad way. And with the exception of Julie, all these other characters are pretty much horror stereotypes. You know, you don't really know anything about them. They don't really develop at all. And I really do have a big problem with the way this movie starts, because like the first 10 or 15 minutes of this movie, I just didn't buy any of it at all. Because the way Maddie finds this Chanak is she falls into a cave. But they clearly show it when she falls in this cave, she can pretty easily step out, but she chooses to walk into this ridiculously scary cave because she hears the sound of a baby inside it. No one would do that. And overall, this movie really does present a lot of themes that are kind of potent. You know, you can mine a lot of stuff from this, but this movie really just does not go the extra mile. It just kind of presents certain ideas and never goes in depth to them. So in the end, I would say Chanak is just an okay movie. Like, I'm still kind of optimistic because I'm really happy about how ambitious this movie is. You know, with the use of animatronics, with the use of folklore and its stories, and just, you know, a horror movie that's not completely stupid. Anyways, that's my review of Chanak. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.